Hey guys, before the video starts, I just want to let you know that when I was editing, I noticed that the beginning first 6 to 7 minutes is a little bit static in the background. That was from my heater being on. I apologize, but after that, the video is very clear. But it's a lot of information in the video, so I didn't take it out or delete it because I knew that it was really important to get that information out, and I don't think I would have said it the same way again. So I hope you guys can bear with me through that time, but after that it does go away. But enough of me talking. Hope you enjoy the video. Hello, welcome back to Universal Love Law. Today I kind of just want to make a video about the 12th house energy. I'm going to be jumping into the water houses, and I'll be explaining them more in depth because they are very significant in our lives. And I have planets in all of my water houses. Okay, so the fourth house is a water house ruled by Cancer. The eighth house is a water house ruled by Scorpio, which I have a stellium there. And then the 12th house is ruled by Pisces, which I have Saturn. And the water houses are very, very important. It talks about, it really perceives the information and understanding of our lives on a very in-depth psychological, conscious and subconscious level. So the fourth house kind of deals with our conscious habits that are taught to us through family, tradition, things of that nature. People of your kind, like being cut from that cloth. Whereas the eighth house is more so those emotional connections we have with others and those deep transformative experiences that deal with others, and as well as ourselves, that affect us through the other person. And then the 12th house deals with our subconscious mind on an extremely deep level and on a very unknown level. Like, we're still discovering the 12th house. That's why I feel as though it is our duty as an astrologer, as self-proclaimed astrologers, right? Or whatever one believes they are in these times. With YouTube, we can just claim anything. But for us, of those of us who have a calling on our life to actually bring forth knowledge and information, utilizing intuition, research, common sense, and all forms of practicality, right? So I feel like understanding the 12th house, we have to be very aware of the foundations and the characteristics of the 12th house, but we have to have integrity when we're breaking down the information, because there is light and dark, and I think we have to be very honest about, what exists in this area of life. Now, for those of you guys who have no planets in your 12th house, don't worry. Your 12th house exists even if you don't have energy going there, and you still will have transits in your inside of your 12th house. Even if you don't have any planets there, you'll still have transits and effects where you'll have to go down the rabbit hole of your subconscious mind, and life will begin to reflect and mirror what's going on a very deep level. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. When we're talking about the 12th house, we're talking about our subconscious mind. I don't want to sound repetitive, but it deals with the aspect of ourself that is the shadow, the unknown, the cognitive dissonance, right? So that aspect of ourself where we do not fully understand, the immature state of mind. It deals with a part of ourself that's a fraction that is unknown, and we don't have to, we have free will, but in life we are given this mirror, and we're able to see these deep, mysterious aspects of ourselves. And I don't want to be very negative, but I want to be honest and real. When we're talking about the 12th house, it does deal with more negative aspects. It doesn't just deal with those creative abilities. It's where we're digging deep into dark space that is dark because we have yet to come, come to acceptance with it, or we fear it. So remember, when we're talking about the 12th house, it can deal with our fears. It can deal with our deep-rooted insecurities. And in theory, it deals with deep-rooted insecurities from past lives as well. So you can see past life information when you see the sign that is your 12th house, the planets that are in your 12th house, the aspects that you may have to your 12th house. Okay, so grand chines, yods, T-squares. If you have these type of energy running through your 12th house, it's very important for one to begin to take a look into that aspect of themselves, because it is the keys to our soul. So the 12th house as well, it does deal with the soul. It deals with not just the spirit, right? It deals with those aspects that are what make us who we are. It can tap us into our highest self, and also can tap us into those past lives we may not want to discover, right? So there's a reason why there's death and rebirth and a forgetfulness, like the veil of forgetfulness or the sea of forgetfulness in life. When we come here and we experience life, we go through this forgetfulness, which is necessary and required for a lot of souls, because if we knew what we were doing in past lives, all in theory, right? You have your choice to believe as you choose. But if we knew some of the things we have done, the greed, the selfishness, the murder, the self-sacrificing, all of those things. And remember, the 12th house deals with Pisces, and that is the sacrifice, okay? The sacrifice of ourselves, the self-undoing. And so the 12th house kind of deals with that type of energy. If we knew what we were doing, it would probably drive a sane man crazy. So we want to tippy toe into this kind of subject because we're really opening wounds. And that's why this work should be dealt with on a very cautious and careful way. So I also want to just let everyone know that the reason in which I'm doing this video, where I'm just being very broad and philosophical in my translation and my understanding, and I'm allowing my intuition to guide me as well as I speak, but talking about the 12th house is because I want a person that's listening to make those connections on a physical, psychic kind of level, right? So anything that I may say in this video that triggers an aspect of yourself, write it down and explore it. We're here to be seekers of truth, seekers of honesty, and seekers of the knowledge. And self-knowledge is the key. It's all about self. It's all about not just self-preservation, which is really important when we're talking about what would I relate that to? Fourth house energy, family, home, right? Self-preservation is reserving your legacy, your lineage, your offsprings, your name, right? That's 10th house energy, 4th house energy, 5th house energy, right? But when we're talking about the 12th house energy, it is important for us to know that we're really diving into a self-awareness on a level that transcends reality. It deals with Neptune energy. It deals with past life energy. It deals with illusion, fantasy, and self-undoing. So I want people to know that a lot of the times when we have transits in our 12th house, what happens is we begin to experience situations. They manifest and play out in our daily life using people, places, or even things to affect us to where we self-destruct. And so it can be the house of the self-undoing. It can be the house where we actually cause ourselves tragedy. It's also a house where we have hidden enemies, okay? It's the house where the enemy isn't revealed to us until we self-undo, meaning we challenge the one that is our enemy, and we don't realize how extreme their reaction will be towards us. And that's when we realize they were an enemy that whole entire time. So it forces us, this 12th house transits. And for those of you guys who don't know what transits are, is when we're talking about Western astrology, we're talking about the 12 houses. We're talking about the actual planets in real time, meaning today or whatever day you're watching this, in real time, affecting the planets in the alignment in which you were born. So they're transiting through your 12th house, and that can be kind of complicated. But ultimately, when we talk about the enemy, we talk about the unknown enemy, where it's the hidden enemy, okay? So whereas the 7th house would be more the open enemy, right? Or even the 11th house, it would be that frenemy person you just feel a bad feeling from. But the 12th house, okay, this deals with the hidden enemy. So transits will bring about experiences where you may lose loved ones. And you may feel like everyone is your enemy with a lot of 12th house energy in your house. In your, like a lot of planets inside of your 12th house energy. These people can feel very alone, and they can have a world of imagination. They can feel like they're quieted a lot. They're always pushed into this quiet space that they have in their mind that they created, okay? And this place can be very taunting, and it also deals with the world of illusion, but it can deal with psychological imbalance as well, meaning mental illness. It can push one to the brink of unawareness of reality. It's a thin line. The veil is lifted in this world of the 12th house, meaning one can be very in tune and inclined with worlds that exist outside of the norm or outside of your consciousness. And these are different realms that the 12th house person can be extremely tapped into. So these people can have psychic abilities like clairvoyance, clairaudience, all of these things where they're either feeling the psychic energy, or they're hearing the spirit talk, or they're thinking the thoughts come to them, or things come to them in music. Okay. So 12th house deals with all of these type of energies, right? It can also deal with disorders that are mental illnesses. So people that have 12th house transits can go through some very strong, we all have 12th house transits too, by the way. Like, what would I call it? Midlife crisis, or and so these experiences can be extremely traumatizing, and it can be very painful. But people that have 12th house energy just overall can be very prone to having a mental imbalance where they are right, but they can't prove it. And they can be quiet and shushed a lot, okay? Because it deals with that mysterious aspect of self, that aspect of self that doesn't make sense. It's hard to communicate. Now, it isn't the third house energy, which is just a cognitive delay. Some people that have a lot of prominent third house energy and squares and things, Gemini in there, it can cause them to have dyslexic moments a lot, like, or limited of thinking. There's a term used in child development. What is that term? I'm a teacher of child development, and so it's where I hate when I do that. It's where a child has reached its maximum point of learning. Anyone that knows child development, you guys can drop the term in the comments below. But it causes a person to just, it's like where you reached your peak of understanding of a certain subject, and you just blank, right? Third house energy deals with that, whereas the 12th house energy, it's deep and it's hard to explain. We're so limited, us people on the earth, with languages, because we know something, but it can be challenging to express it with our limited abilities, right? Or a limited amount of communication. Now, that's third house energy, the communication, right? It could deal with delays of communication. But when we're talking about 12th house energy, it can be a delay of expression. And this is where film and creativity comes as a major play. This is the dream world as well. People who have dreams and make them movies. People who have very amazing ideas. People who have downloads. Now, this space is where all things are created. It's a void, kind of like the flower of life, sacred geometry, right? And so I do want to give a disclaimer for those of you that are into the video this far. When we're talking about certain philosophies or sciences, studies, theories, religious practices, we have to know there's a thin line between good and bad, light and dark. I operate out of a God, okay? Light, love. That is what I operate from. And I always will have the integrity to speak that, okay? Just letting that be known, because some people deal with these sacred geometries and things of that, not for good, okay? And so even though you're learning about sacred geometry, oh my God, look at this is, or the tree of life and all of these things, the Kabbalah, all these things, we have to be aware that these are all the same things that are used in dark as well. So remember to always have spiritual discernment and always choose the side you choose. I'm not one to tell one what side they should choose, but I'm one to tell one what side I choose, okay? And I choose light, I choose love, I choose. So if one is listening to my video, I always want to give a disclaimer when I feel it on my spirit too, because to reinforce the message and the reason and why I'm doing this with an energy of that, which is of light, okay? That's to rest anyone's mind that may get a little based off the different terms that I use, right? So when we're talking about the 12th house, yeah, we're talking about the dream world. It's where film is created. It's where spells can be created, okay? Because there's a resting period that happens. And remember, with rest comes dreams. It's a shift in our awareness where we're from the conscious, which is the awoke, to the subconscious, which is when we're asleep. And with all things and its processes, everything that we desire to manifest or whatever we choose to create, okay, when we're talking about creativity and things of that nature, it needs a resting period where it grows, where the energy can grow. Okay, so 12th house energy is the growth of all things, okay? It's the growth, it's the void, it's the dark space, it's the womb. It's correlated to so many different things that are all of one. There is nothing new under the sun. All things correlate. And all things should make sense. If it brings about confusion, then that's when you want to question it. But the 12th house brings forth this void energy where all things are created. So the dream space is where we're tapped into our subconscious mind, where we may remember things from past lives. We may remember things from our childhood. Okay, this is also the place where the child could push thoughts that were not helpful for them as a child. It's where the mind splits from traumatic experiences. Remember, they say energy can never be destroyed, it can only be transformed. So this energy goes there, okay, to that void space in the subconscious mind. And that's why I say that people that have these transits in the 12th house, they must understand that this is an experience where you're faced with your shadow aspects. The things you may fear the most, or the things that just don't make sense, they begin to make sense. And it can be a little bit scary, and it can be a little bit unknown, but it's not meant to be. Or it may be meant to be, but it's meant to be overcome. So the 12th house doesn't have to be a creepy place or scary or like, oh no, I'm having a transit in my 12th house. Endurance is the key, and embracing, having faith, and knowing which side you stand on will protect you, okay? And just being aware, okay? So, another thing about the 12th house is it does rule and govern over different jobs, okay? Occupations or places, okay? So there's places, there's jobs. So some of those places, of course, the infamous prisons, the infamous crazy homes, the infamous nursing facilities, places of solitude, okay? Prison guards. These are people that could have 12th house energy. People who are in secret societies, the ones that keep secrets. That could be 8th house energy, but it can also be 12th house energy. Because when you take an oath, that deals with something on a spiritual level, okay? It deals with something in that subconscious void space. And it isn't written in stone once one takes a secrecy or oath or something like that. That's something that's purposeful, and it was a choice made even before life. So we have to understand, when we're dealing with the 12th house, we're dealing with things that you're going down a rabbit hole. And the deeper you go, the darker it gets. So the more clouded your mind can get. So it's important to build foundations based on practicality when we're talking about the characteristics of the 12th house. One can have peace and understanding of their 12th house energies when they baby step through. Okay, take it one step at a time. But these people can be very comfortable and very lonely, destitute, quiet places. These people can be comfortable there. These people can be very imaginative in those places, and they can be busy mentally in those places. So where one can be like dreading, like, oh my God, I could never work here, right? These are your receptionists that work alone at hospitals or somewhere like where no one really comes in. 12th house energy can play out many ways. These can be musicians as well. I personally know someone that has a lot of 12th house energy, and I love him. He is my cousin. So working with him, I actually can get even more in depth of how it plays out with different signs, okay, or different planets. So you want to look at your planets. I don't want to keep this video too long. I hope this video has been helpful. And, I see there's a need for understanding the houses, the signs that are in the houses and the planet, the sign that the house is, and the planets that are within those houses as well. And so I'm gonna really focus on, and I'm a Sagittarius, so sometimes I say I'm gonna do something and it takes decades, or I just get lazy, or I just forget, or never forget. I always know and beat myself up for it, like, oh my God, I need to do this. But I can get like all over the place. That scatteredness is Sagittarius energy. Like, yeah, we have to feel the choice. Like, we chose to do it, not forced. It has to be free flowing. But I hope this video has been helpful. I'm gonna do more videos on those water houses. Okay, so anyone that has a 8th house energy or 4th house energy, look forward to those videos. Those are the ones I'll be working on next. And please let me know how's your 12th house experience in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in to Universal Love Law, and peace.